What don't we have to say about that game? Yeah, you know, I did say I thought this would be close games, and my oh my, that was a close game. Our action murder mystery really came true, and I say that because there was definitely a lot of murder in that game. I think it's fair to say AGT, they got ahead early, but AOE, they managed to close it out. Trance, I mean, we had a lot of opinions about this game, I think.
Oh, we definitely did, Hawk. That was an absolute banger of a game. They were just going back and forth a lot of times, and I really thought AGT was gonna bring that home in that Baron, and man, they fumbled the bag pretty hard there. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, you know, it happens. So you say they fumbled the bag a little bit there, and I guess I'm sort of wondering, where did things maybe go wrong for them? When did the hero AOE in that film end up, you know, overcoming all their obstacles and managing to find the power of friendship or whatever? I don't know. Walk me through what happened.
All right, so that team fight was really chaotic, and you know, AGT was really able to come out during that mid fight, which was pretty insane. And so when they were going for that Baron, they really should have been able to protect that a little bit more. But man, Young having that blue buff, he was really taking control of that space in that area, and you were really able to see him be able to push his limit to be able to really pull that aggro off and make them have to decide under pressure what they were gonna do. And under that pressure, you could have really seen them crumble.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think, 2 plays that we highlighted that we unfortunately won't have replays for. However, there was the big fight around mid that I think you were referencing, in which Zamuda got a solo kill on the bottom side onto the Corki. Meanwhile, AoE won the fight in mid, and then later on, there was a Baron steal from Winnie as well, when he jumped over and smited that one away. And it felt like from that point, AoE, they didn't really turn back. But we do have a gold graph for you guys in RMC. I think we can take a look at just how absolutely erratic it was. I mean, look at that blue mountain that doesn't start until 23 minutes into the game.
Yep, and that's that Baron Johns was talking about, right? But
yeah,
I do think it's worth noting that Baron there wasn't actually the first moment where AoE started to turn the tides. We already saw it in the Dragon fight before that already, where AoE, their positioning was really, really good. And I gotta praise Young this game, because we had many questions, you know, about, you know, can Zamudo win his lane, you know, whether Deep Learning and Duo Selena would pop off on the bot side. We didn't really question the mid lane, and we probably should have, because Young was the massive carry. Look at the damage numbers coming out, 38,000 on Syndra. And while Syndra does have a lot of sustained damage, her Q is on a very low cooldown, it's very spammable, like Tron said, give her blue buff and she's very annoying, but we think of her as a burst champion. In this game, she was consistently pumping out more damage than anyone else, and AGT, I don't think, really itemized to deal with the magic damage. They were too worried about Winnie, too worried about Lynx, and so Syndra was just bursting down everybody, even Existence, the pseudo tank, the Mordekaiser that was supposed to frontline all the damage.
Yeah, for sure. I remember RMC, I'm going to quote you of having said that Syndra falls off. She doesn't team fight as well. Seems like Young managed to get it done anyway. Don't want to throw you under the bus too much, but I mean, truly, Young really played well, but Trance fell up to that.
I actually just really want to shout out Zamudo. From that early game, he was able to pull it back, and that solo kill on Corki, goddamn, that was nuts. that was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It was. I mean, it truly was. That was absolutely, again, a moment that turned the game in their favor. And Trance, I'm going to come back to you with this. Looking towards game number 2, AoE Ginger Turmeric is going to be back on the, they will be going to the blue side. So that means first pick Senna for Lynx, not going to be in the cards. We know, again, Duo Selena loves this champion, so likely won't go back over to AoE. Does this change the dynamic of the match?
Honestly, I think AGT, they just have so many power picks that they can pick between them for that B1. So I'm really hoping to see them really pull out that Lucian Nami again, but I really want to see them really push it this time, because I felt like they were kind of asleep at the wheel, and so you gotta wake up, boys, to pull out that W.
Absolutely. This is not a disaster movie. We do not want anyone getting in car crashes asleep at the steering wheel. No. Sir, speaking of movie genres, we've got our last two teams to place. It is, of course, what is happening on the Academy stream right now. Evil Geniuses, Prodigies, and Team Pending. We've got two genres left. So, it's basically a 50-50. Do we want Evil Geniuses, Prodigies to be the classic or the buddy cop? RMC, I'll go to you first.
Oh, that's really tough, actually. I don't feel like EGP. I'm gonna put EGP as the classic because I think Team Pending actually fits buddy cop better.
I can subscribe to that. What about you, Trance? Any opinions on that?
I'm just gonna have to follow through with RMC on that one. I agree with his point. It's hard to tell, honestly.
What I will say is I feel like Team Pending, they really fit the buddy comp genre. It feels like, you can talk about the UST Brotherhood just winning CLOL, in particular Kitso and Robbie Bob. They've been around the block. So I definitely feel like Team Pending is my buddy cop pick at the very least. And EGP, even though they're not as much of a classic as we might think, they have been one of those organizations that has been a big pioneer in the amateur scene, one of those LCS affiliated organizations. So I think it's fair to say that they can be a classic, and maybe in some ways you could claim they're a bit vintage for they were in the LCS, then they left, then they came back with franchising. I don't know, maybe. But either way, are we feeling good as EGP going to be our classic and Team Pending, they are our buddy cop movie, which means we have placed, I believe, all 8 of our teams into some nice little boxes there. But either way, oh, there we go. We got the graphic coming up. There it is. But we do have, of course, game number 2 coming up. We'll have to see if AOE is able to close out the second 2-0 of the day, or if AOE Ginger Turmeric can make it go to a game 3 and prolong the AOE Civil War. It seems like we've got just a couple seconds. So before we go over, Trance, give me any last words of wisdom before we toss. Anything big brain?
AGT mental strong.
AGT mental strong. I know you're riding on your 2-1 prediction. We'll see if it comes true. Pyra and Rebel, take it away, y'all.
Thank you very much there, Hawk. Oh my goodness, it has already been a heck of a series and only been one game in the books. I think that was by far the longest game we've had on stream today, because the first series really just went so quick in a lot of ways. But time does fly when you're having fun. So, Rebel, we've got ourselves another game and a swap over on the sides here for AOE GT. And really, that first game could have gone either way. It feels like, I don't think that's one where you tilt. I think it's like a moment, just a lapse. That's okay. And I don't think we were expecting them to play this clean. I wonder how that adjusts the strategy now that AOE have seen what this Ginger Turmeric team can do if they definitely take a moment and take a step off the gas pedal.
Like I said, they had a lot of moments of really solid creativity, really solid thinking, really solid organization of their team, which are not things we usually laud them for. It was just a handful of moments that really did break them, that AOE were able to find in kind with one another to really put themselves in a solid position. And I want to hype up, I think, of everybody in that team, I think AOE Young did great. And I've loved Young. Again, he and Goo were together on 100 Thieves a while back, and they were one of my favorite teams then. They're two of my favorite players in the entirety of the amateur space, and I'm glad to see him back, because he took a bit of a hiatus, and now Young is just smurfing once again inside of these games, which is really, really amazing to see. Was able to step up for the team in very, very big succession inside of a game like this, and really turn the tide. Another mid laner might not have been there on that Cinder pick to be able to make all of these fights happen, to be able to make the individual plays that that Young was able to across the longevity of that game, and it might have actually led to Turmeric having a lot more opportunities. So props to Young. Again, the individual skill, the teamwork that he was able to show was really incredible.
Yeah, do you think the Syndra is maybe worth consideration on the ban side, or is it just the way he was playing?
I think he's a great Syndra. I think maybe a second rotation of bans, if he hasn't picked one yet, might have to go onto the potential list. I'm actually really shocked, because Captain Shrimps has an amazing champion pool, an absurdly large champion pool. And so, maybe if they blind Syndra on that pick, they have something a little bit interesting or more unique to take into it. But in this particular sense, again, they saw the Corki, or I think actually the Syndra got picked first, and then they blinded Corki into it rather than doing something a little more interesting. And I would kind of hope that's not the case. I kind of would want Captain Shrimps to take something that's a little bit more aggressive against that pick individually, because his performance also wasn't terrible in a game like this. It felt like the crit wasn't necessarily doing what they needed it to as the build for that Corki, not really having the same kind of engagement. Those rockets, I think, would have been really necessary in that game. They felt like they were the only kind of damage that you could put in from afar to push Young Mid out of fights so that he wasn't just able to stand forward.
Yeah, and I do also think that, like, while they kind of had all the tools in the toolbox to be able to use for these, like, big fights, like, the fact that they didn't, outside of Existence, the fact that they didn't, like, really, like, snowball on too many lanes, like, I was kind of looking at that thinking, like, I kind of feel like this Lucian Nami needed to have a bit more of an impact early on, because while they were able to get some kills, while the full channel culling started to do a lot of damage, it wasn't like you were snowballing in that lane, and you saw on the opposite side the Senna started to step up and do massive damage with, like, Dawn of Shadow. They had a lot of mobility, they had a lot of CC chain to lock things down. So I think all in all, what AOE had as a 5-member unit was just a lot more effective, and I think that does speak to the game plan that they tend to build towards, as opposed to, like, I don't know, 5 possible carries, but maybe we'll see that once again as AOE GT on the blue side. We are loading up into picks and bans yet again. We'll see if AOE can close this one out, or will we have our first 3-game series of the day on this stream.
Now that's really interesting, is the Fiora immediate takeaway from Zamudo. I think after the last game, the Ornn got a little bit beaten down by Existence at the beginning of the game, even though it was a winning game eventually. Zamudo also had that really weird moment on the Ornn ultimate at the beginning of the game that did give the early advantage over to Existence, basically for absolutely nothing. For no reason did that ever occur, which again was a very rare instance of Zamudo just, like, making a very strange mistake. But they know the power of this guy in the top lane as well. Yeah, he just pressed the button and then he's like,
look,
commit to it.
It happens to, look, Faker does a fail flash every once in a while, which, by the way, is a great tongue twister if you're trying to do some warm-ups. But, like, yeah, like everybody makes mistakes. I do think that was probably like, ooh, I shouldn't have pressed that, and then I'm making most of it. The karma ban again, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with, like, the mistake of the pressing of the ultimate. I have a problem with him then, like, following it up and eventually dying because of it. But Existence respects him enough to know that they need to take the Zamudo, like, Fiora away. In the one-on-one lane, I would hope that he would get a little bit more, because I think that's one thing AOE can improve on, is the fact that, like, their top lane was a point of contention where Existence was playing very well, and if they can patch that up, it feels like they earn a lot more control of the entirety of the game.
So it looks like the Gangplank, as they're going to let the timer tick down, will be the first lock-in blind. And it does make sense. Existence was a pretty big part of the success in the early stages of the game. And I think giving him a champion that can snowball into the late also helps out on the AoE side. We may be seeing some bot lane adaptations, of course, with Senna and Lucian both removed off the table. We'll see very different lanes down there this time, I would think.
It's really unfortunate that, like, first off, I know a lot of people get disappointed at Nautilus for a number of different reasons, but we haven't gotten to see the Rakan in a series like this, and I know Skytech's a super good Rakan. If you didn't know, he was the one that, like, popularized, like, AP Rakan. He was playing it until, like, Challenger, and that was Skytech. He was the one doing that, so we're not going to get anything like that. Instead, we're going to get the Nautilus as just a pick here. With the Senna off the table, I guess it's a very blanket champion that's able to be taken by Skytech alongside Lynx to pair or match whatever it is that Deep Learning and Duo Selena are going to be able to take down there. And again, just neutralizing that lane, I think, is a big thing, right? Like, they're super good on Senna. They're super good on trying to generate their own income when they've got those, bigger type of picks. The Enchanter picks tend to come through from Duo Selena, so attempting to punish that with Nautilus and, the potential of an aggressive ADC might stave that off a little bit, might force him into a slightly different role than normal for Duo Selena.
I wonder if we see the Renata here as, like, kind of a counter engage tool, or like a engage deferral tool, but maybe they just decide to say, let's fight fire with fire, as that is a Leona being hovered, and it's kind of like we're back to spring. This feels like a 12.4 draft minus the Wukong, so that is going to be the pickup for AoE GT.
Pretty incredible. That again, Duo Selena is known really heavily for the Enchanter and heavily for the Senna play, and I don't think they have the same kind of effect on these, like, bruisery type picks, but it's clear they want to play aggressive and they want to play attackative into this bottom lane. I think last time they were able to be sandbagged because of that Tom Kench Senna combination, and they don't want that to be the case. This is interesting because I have a feeling that is not just a two-way flex, but a three-way flex. I have a feeling that Heal, Captain Troops, and Deep Learn can all pick this champion if they really need to.
I was about to
make it work.
I was about to ask. Give me your best guess, Rebel. Where is the Karthus going? But I think that trying to keep those cards close to the chest, that's definitely the way to play. I like this. You got a couple of globals coming down the way as well. I mean, you have the possibility to pop off on a little bit of damage. Obviously, Karthus is one of those champs that can do things from just about everywhere, and I would love to see where this ends up going. Obviously, we already have the jungle lock-in for AOE side, and, well, they're taking their time.
They picked no champion. What a bold...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That timer ticked down? What?
The timer ticked down.
I think we have a reset or something.
We might have a reset. We might have something.
I think we will. Either way, assuming these picks are still going through for the time being, because I mean, it's not like anything is so out there that we don't expect it to be a pick at all. We'll have to just say what we expect the answer to be on the AOE side. Like, obviously the Karthus being a double, potentially triple flex. What do you do? Like put yourself in AOE's coach shoes right now and just be like, what do you do to answer that?
Well,
what is your option?
My biggest thing is that, like, if they pick it in the jungle, that means you have to get active, because obviously the Karthus wants to power farm to the best of his abilities, get really, really strong out of the jungle position. He'll join skirmishes and stuff, but if you've got powerful lanes on the side of AoE, they can't really do that, and it shuts out the champion a lot more, and they still have some versatility to do so with, like, the remaining picks that they've got in their hands, because they've got Nautilus, they put it with an AD that's really aggressive, they can potentially find aggression or counter aggression against the Leona lane that they want, so they can try to drive it out of the jungle. I do anticipate, I think Keel is the most likely person to have it. Keel has played it before. He's into AP junglers. I talked to you about the fiddlesticks a little bit, but to me, that makes the most sense. And if it's not going to go there, I don't think Shrimps takes it. I think it goes to deep learning so that they can try to scale on the bottom side. You pair it with the Leona, and really effectively, it just becomes, you know, if the Leona gets locked down, you get to hit a couple of the Skittles from the Karthus pretty freely on your target, but otherwise, you can just send Duo Selena elsewhere. Go free my partner in crime. End up somewhere else and try to help out the Gangplank or whoever else they have in the jungle, the mid lane, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so basically we need more information because there's way too many options for the time being, but I do appreciate you buying us some time as we go through the motions yet again. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody, as we have had just a small technical hiccup, but we are right back on top of it with the draft. So after this Karthus is locked in, man, you're taking me back with the Skittles. I remember when they actually looked like them. I'm old. That's what I'm trying to get at here. But I do want to see what AOE do pair up because they have a lot of CC chain right now. It does have some great frontline. Obviously, we need damage. The Syndra is still available. I feel like you could do this again for Young Mid if you want.
You absolutely could. You've got range to work with, and you've got a lot of upfront damage, which is good into Karthus just to make sure you can stay at arm's length away from him so he's not getting close enough to you. You can use the Orb, the Scat of the Weak, make sure that they're nowhere near. And they agree with us 100%. And I think that's a reasonable call as well. Because, again, making sure the Karthus stays back, making sure the Gangplank is more respective of his positioning with Scat of the Weak are both really, really important things to consider inside of teamfights. And the less space control you have in the middle, like in a mid-fight situation, like a little bit of different distance on it, the easier it is for Gangplank and Karthus to get close enough to start affecting some of the backliners and pushing them back. And so I love the Syndra in this case, specifically designed to keep them from stepping up too far, infringing upon the territory that AoE is supposed to control.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we are in the second phase of bans, and we're seeing that both sides are focusing a different role that's yet to be picked up. Already a lot of bot side focus on the AoE, as they've banned away not only the Misfortune, but also the Tristana. So deep learning, if he's not going to be the one on the Karthus, we're going to have to see what else the option's going to be. That is the Gwen takeaway for AoE GT. They don't want to give that opportunity over to Zamudo. And we'll have to see what the answer is in that final choice.
It would be blind, but Ornn, I do wonder... Okay, yeah, Ornn can get taken off the board. I do wonder if Kallista's on the board here for Lynx. I don't think Lynx is much of a Kalista player, but it would give a lot of engage into this team to be very, very aggressive. And the lane is very hard to play against, so...
But they could also do something like this. From downtown, they're going to add the Jhin in, so long-range damage. And you kind of see the idea that they have like a little bit of dive, but also some of the safety in the back that can just kind of like peck away at the damage. Now, for the AoE GT side... we will have the Xayah lock-in, so we've got that bot lane all fleshed out, so it means that the Karthus is kind of either in the mid or in the jungle. And what's going to be the reveal here for Ginger Turmeric, what they're going to do? Oh, we might even see a little more flex. You know, honestly, I think this doesn't answer the question. I think we could see like the Gangplank mid for Captain Shrimps.
That's exactly what it is. Gangplank mid for Captain Shrimps is a pick that goes way back, and he's like the only person that plays it for me. So I got to give props to him because again, he's the one that always gives me everything that I want. First off, I love Gangplank as a mid lane champion more than anything. I want to see what they wrap things up with. But against some of the mages, and especially like LeBlanc was a big one. He played it too back in the day. Was pretty big. It's possible that he grabs this one into the Syndra just to scale alongside it. Has some wave clear to work with as well. And it's a useful champion and a useful flex. Came out of nowhere that they were able to actually do that with. And I like that EOE, they saved their top lane pick. They saved the top lane counter for Zamudo. And they see that it is, of course, the Camille. And now we get some fun lane shenanigans where like you can start moving players around. You're like, okay, I don't want the Camille into this matchup. If they're comfortable in the mid lane, you swap them, then you swap back. And we could end up seeing those shifts where like they drop 20 CS in the first 10 minutes by just moving too much between the lanes if that ends up happening.
Yeah, and I do like one of the advantages that you can do when you have a team that just has so many viable carries is to just kind of like move them around, move the pieces on the board, and see who starts picking up the edge. And then you could just try to funnel the gold into that person and try to carry through them. On the AOE side, I do like what they're bringing here because it's actually a pretty brutal 4-1. Like Jax is going to start popping off in most situations as the game goes on. And I think they have a fantastic engage. Normally, Jax isn't really known as like a big team fighting champion, but in the right tool, in the right hands, he absolutely can. I know we saw that a couple of weeks ago. I think we were even seeing some of the highlights of the Taco Gaming and 100 Thieves Next game that I absolutely lost my mind during with Beatdown last week. And it's possible that Zamudo could channel a little bit of that type of energy. I think AOE have built themselves a really good composition with a solid amount of damage, just an absolutely disgusting amount of CC, but Ginger Turmeric have set themselves up for success in so many different ways. I think this is a fantastic draft. I can't wait to see how that plays out.
And if you talk about just the pure 4-1 split, we're assuming that Existence gets stuck in a lane alongside Zamudo, or at least Gangplank gets stuck in a lane alongside Zamudo. Like, AoE's composition has so much range and so much CC from a close range that, like, it's difficult to, like, breach into the territory that they're trying to go. I will say, I still think I prefer Callista if I were seeing the draft, because I like single target damage of her a little bit better, the DPS is a little higher, and the ability to pick champions with that ultimate, I think, goes well with, like, Wukong being able to access their line, Syndra being able to access their line, but Jhin does similar things by having the ultimate from such a distance. You can CC champions and kind of just fish a little bit with both the Syndra and the Jhin range against champions like Gangplank, against Leona, against the Xayah, who have to get a lot closer to really make that effect. The Solar Flare is going to be something to track a lot, because that's the best way they can try to infringe into Young, into Lynx as best as possible without having to go through Winnie or Skytech.
Yeah, I think it's on such a low cooldown as well that like that's one of the advantages of playing a champion like Leona, and it is funny that we've kind of gone almost a little bit throwback, where it's like just toss the enchanters out completely, and we're just going to be going for those like hardhead bruisers as well, or at least like very tanky engaged supports. And that's because we've unlocked so much more damage on the other side of the map. Now that's obviously with the exception of Winnie, who while Wukong can do a lot of damage, is very much that like frontline CC chain with the Cyclone. I mean that's going to be critical to like starting fights on the AoE side. But Skytech can do the same. And I think we do need to talk about how this team can rally around Winnie to set things up, because while he won't likely be the carry in this particular instance, they can still play tempo through him and start to set them up. And I think trying to get Young those kills, or at the very least let Lynx kind of play janitor and pick things off with that curtain call, it does seem like a sound strategy for skirmishing. It feels like it might be a little more chaotic than we would have expected going into the series.
I'm really excited for this game. I think Winnie's got quite a bit on his plate to be able to act with in the beginning of the game. And so trying to set up his team for a lot of success. But there's so much about this AGT team fight that I'm looking forward to. But my highlight is actually to Existence. I think an Existence flank with a hook shot into like the ultimate as well, that throws so much. You can cut so much of the space to retreat with. You can try to, reduce the amount of time that it takes to actually get into the line of Young and Lynx in a big fight. That if Existence is playing alongside them in a team fight and it's a pure 5-on-5, then I actually really like Ginger Turmeric if they find the right flank. If they can compress that space, use things like the Cannon Barrage and, all of the zone tools that like Heal will have on the Karthus to really, really punish a lot of the space that AoE would want to take to be able to walk forward and put damage into the enemy team. I think Existence is really the piece that makes this entire team work in the right circumstance here. And I'm keeping a track of it because, again, if Keel is able to make that lane work, if Zamudo falls behind inside the laning phase once again to his counterpart, it could actually yield very, very different results, not just for the lane, but for team fighting for Ginger Turmeric.
For sure. I think it's going to be very critical. Now, let's take a look at the spread on the summer spell choices, because we do see it's a match in teleports, but in very different lanes. Existence has gone for the TP Ignite, whereas Zamudo has gone all in on the lane at the flash as well in hand. But while Young has got a teleport, Captain Shrimps does not. So we are going to be like across the board even, but it's a little bit of a wonky way that that's happening.
Goodness gracious, I love Captain Shrimps. He's one of my favorite players because he plays some of my favorite champions. He also has Fizz in the pool. He's got Rumble in the pool, and they're all champions that I like to see in the mid lane because they do such different things than normal.
It's kind of an old school mid style too. There's
yeah.
definitely been a handful of metas I've seen where that's the type of thing that comes through. Now, talk to me a little bit about the Gangplank mid and how it's going to play out a little bit differently than what we could expect on the top side.
Again, the biggest thing against mages is it's got good wave clear with some of the barrels, right? The W is a way to try to shirk off the stun that can come through from a Syndra that usually is a death sentence in a follow up against most things. And in the right circumstance, if you've got setup for it, or if you have some way to actually get in an auto attack, you do enough damage as Gangplank in the early phase of the game to really put on pressure. The problem is you can keep moving. You can do all these things, so the barrel and the slow is what's going to be necessary. I prefer it with junglers that can attack because I think Gangplank does a lot to help set up for champions to come out of the brushes, even from a decent distance, because of the slow that the barrel provides. But here with Keel, I think it's a lot harder to get a pure setup onto the Syndra. So Young Mid's laning phase should still be very strong, could actually be unlocked alongside Winnie to really make effects in side lanes, which is where I really want to see this happen. Again, if Zamudo set off to a good foot, if they get links off to some really early damage, I think it is easy to split this map and easy to prevent this team fight from growing awry.
Yeah, AOE going to be looking to control things early on. They don't really want to run into a situation like they were last game. Checking in with how the lanes are shaping up right now. Existence actually getting pushed a little under tower for the time being. There's a level advantage, of course, with the Grasp of the Undying. You're unlikely to be in significant threat. You have that level of sustainability. In terms of what's happening elsewhere, we did see Winnie kind of making a move early on deep into Keel's jungle, but wasn't able to take away anything significant here as he started off on that red, but it was just a token effort. I do want to keep an eye on what Keel can do on this Karthus because he is power farming quite fast.
He is. It looked like Winnie wanted to find some kind of aggression into him, but it didn't quite work. Yeah, that's the power of the orange, the missing health, and everything else. The first couple of times it's going to be rough. But yeah, like you said, I was looking at what these lanes were going to do, and again, it's decently self-sufficient. The Gangplank is into the Syndra, which I think is part of the point. You're seeing a lot of resources about to get dumped into Captain Shrimps all at once. Oh goodness! It's
I think it's going to be a seafood buffet here. Captain Shrimp seals up, but no, they didn't finish the job until Winnie comes in for the relief pitch. But it ends up being a trade. Keel might get a 2-for-1 special on this, and Winnie knows. Winnie knows he's not going to be able to stop it. What a swing for AOE Ginger Turmeric.
Really incredible. The fact that Keel is there for the counter gank after everybody roped in to try to punish the play from the Gangplank. And even crazier, Captain Shrimps didn't actually hit anybody, so we got no assist there. It was just Keel that ended up doing all of that damage. But it's so hard to dive. First off, the new patch makes it harder to dive people. You have to do it a lot faster. So Skytech was under a little bit of pressure in being able to get underneath this turret, even though he had the wave here. Captain Shrimp stalls for so much time with the W. Look at that. He got back 150 health. And yes, the kill actually ended up going to Winnie, who had to go too far. I feel like they should have just let Young Mid go through with the motions and kept Winnie there to make sure that Keel couldn't actually bring him down. They could have 2v1'd against Keel. But Winnie going underneath the tower ends up sacrificing a couple of abilities that might have been useful for taking the play into Keel specifically, even if they have to sacrifice the play from Captain Shrimps, right? If you let Captain Shrimps live, but kill Keel, still ends up being the one kill in your favor, probably with no trade because he can't step up. But because they go for that kill under tower, it's 2 kills that go back to the Karthus, the last person in the world you want to give those early kills to.
Oh man, yeah, it's such a feels bad, and it's the second game in a row that Young Mid wasn't able to finish off the kill. This time, not really his fault because, well, I mean, you have to anticipate the W, but still, it's like so close. And you even see he turns, he goes for the auto attack again, but it's still not enough, and then everything goes wrong. My goodness. Captain Shrimps is a man who plays on the edge.
Truly.
There we go. Oh, burns the flash. No mana, hardly. The Syndra, but that's a good summoner burn. Meanwhile, Winnie is going to be able to pick up the Cloud Dragon on the map. It's a pretty early one, sub 6 minutes, so the Drake stacking can begin. We might be right back to the scene of the crime, but I think without summoners, it's probably just stealing away some chickens.
Just all that. And again, nothing has had to really come about from the Skytech lane, and I think that part of that...
Whoa.
Oh, okay. Nope.
Denied.
Again,
it's an orange. It's an orange, and it's K. Here comes Keel. Wall of Pain. Over the wall comes Selena and gets stuffed. But from downtown, you once again have Captain Shrimps dropping on that ultimate. I mean, the Cannon Barrage, he just dinged 6, so he was able to do it, actually not even from very far away. And
insane.
It is going to be the kill onto Winnie.
Yeah, it literally was during that skirmish that he hits the level 6, drops the cannon barrage, and then Winnie's just like, what am I supposed to do? He either has to walk through all that damage and potentially go down to Karthus, or he just turns and tries to put some additional damage and maybe try to pull out a kill, but either way, he was just dead to rights right there. As again, the Gangplank is down like 15 CS, but already it feels like it's like one of those troll picks that like, it's like Shaco, where like you press Q and your job is to just be as annoying beyond belief, and they put so much effort into bringing him down that they are just losing too much in transition against the side of AOE. Like AOE is putting so much and they're getting basically nothing for it and giving so much back to their opposition.
It's the guess I'll die meme, but it's Wukong instead of the like old stock photo man. Yeah. Not much you can do in that situation. I mean, and like, things are already rough here because you have a Karthus, who's, by the way, just got that 5-stack Dark Seal. Existence is actually doing pretty good against Zamudo. There's a level advantage, and now it's a Hextech Ultimatum, and they're going to be able to finish the kill off because the Counter-Strike ain't going to really do that much, and Existence even lives through it as the Requiem comes down to get the assist, and the gold from the kill drops into Existence's pocket.
Yeah, very, very big props actually right there for communication, once again, from the side of Turmeric, because, again, you take that advantage. Existence knows that Zamudo's got the damage to beat him in the one-on-one, but with the additional damage of that Requiem, like you were talking about, it's just barely enough to push him over the edge so that Zamudo is the one that falls. Zamudo's really far up in the lane. I was actually a little surprised that Existence couldn't just take that fight in the first place, but knew the damage better than I did, because I was almost anticipating jump in immediately after the Counter-Strike had gone down, because he had, I think it was level 7 to level 6 at the time with the Ignite available, and I was expecting that to really be the play that Existence was able to use to turn the play. But again, used the Karthus ultimate to very great effect, to be able to pull the kill out with one auto left on his own health bar, so props to him for that one.
Yeah, and while kind of pressure's been lost a little bit around the map, I mean, Winnie can maybe get this Rift Herald, but there's a lot of damage being applied by the Ginger Turmeric bot side. Deep Learn has had a much quieter game. I would say Duoselina has been going quite a lot roaming, but that experience not being shared does mean that Deep Learn was able to get that faster level 6 and level 7 and has that CS advantage over the side of Lynx. And they were able to push in and get some plates while it was all happening too.
Absolutely. And it's really nice because, again, the intention behind the Jin pick, I think, was to leave it alone, and then they see that and they go, okay, we'll pick Xayah because we can also leave Xayah alone. She's got the ultimate, she's got flash, you even have heal for some defensive attributes, and there's no way for Jin to really punish that, and then if Nautilus gets involved again, you use one of your defensive tools and you're fine on your own. So again, it's a little bit of brilliance coming out because you're willing to leave Deep Learn on their own.
Okay, 2v2 here. It's revealed. It's going to be 3 if Young Mid wants to get involved. And whoa, there's the hop, the leap strike, the kill. So AOE Esports do get something back for themselves, investing that flash, the advantage in the lane summoner spells that they have.
And it's a nice shift, actually, because they move Lynx up from bot lane into mid lane to catch that wave as well, so they don't really lose all that much. They already had the Rift Herald, and I wonder if they're going to use it in Zamudo, or if they're just going to leave. It looks like they're going to leave. I would have anticipated that actually getting dropped. It feels like it would have been a free 3 or 4 plates between the two of them, but wanting to put that elsewhere, as Deep Learn has already pulled 2 plates off, probably finds a third, and now, with this redeploy as well, like, they are under very, very deep threat of potentially losing SkyTech now.
I think so. The Wall of Pain does come through. He's able to actually hook to the wall and get himself out of harm's way, but it's just an entire wave of minions that gets completely eaten by the tower. And I think they got the plate as well, just barely. Okay, yeah, there we go. And yeah, Deep Learn is really setting up for success right now in this game, and Lynx has just not been able to match. Feels like he has to back twice as much.
He really does. Yeah, it feels pretty rough. That the Jin isn't quite finding the mark that I think they wanted to, where they wanted a similar effect with the Jin and the Nautilus combination. They're just doing it better on the other way. Oh, that's a big stun!
Good interrupt. Existence is able to use the minions to also get a little bit of damage back, but that does force him out of lane. You know, Ignites on both sides. You can't afford to duel to the death. That's mutually assured destruction at best. This is going to be another Dragon Take, though. This time it's for AOE Ginger Turmeric because they have the push advantage, so things kind of reset. I mean, we were talking about early Drake stack advantages for AOE, but doesn't matter. Now we got a Mountain Rift coming up, so a little bit more terrain to deal with. Winnie looking to set up a dive here. There is no flash on the Camille.
Well, there's not. SkyTech is here as well to try to set this up. They have to trade towers fast, because right now, they've got Rift Herald. They need to be able to kill Existence. He just got worded out. They have to make this play happen immediately.
Oh! I mean, you can knock him up. You might get the play anyways, but he's buying a ton of time with the Hextech Ultimatum to knock him on the Cyclone. And the roam from Young Mid is just way too late. The tower is going to fall, I think, on both sides, but this is very easily going to be Ginger Turmeric first brick.
The big win in this circumstance is that Existence bought so much time, they get first brick on the bottom, right? If this happens immediately, like in that tribe rush, they're ready, they're raring to go, they don't have to worry about Existence, they're able to drop the Rift Herald pretty much immediately, maybe they get first tower. Maybe this ends up being a positive effect, right? But instead, because first tower goes down to bottom lane, it goes into deep learn, like, we're feeling good about that if you're on the side of Turmeric. I think that's a really good play. It did recover some gold for AOE. I think they put it in right members as well. I kind of want to see them play into Zamudo a little bit more because I think he's doing great. He's up 32 CS and has quite a bit of gold in this one to potentially contest. It's a good place to find yourself if you are this top laner comparative to where you were last game.
That's true. I mean, yeah, it definitely feels better than when you're getting set behind as the Ornn, and your job is basically to make sure your team can buy better items. Although he got better. He got better after a little while. Yeah. Divine Sunder on as well. You got to kill even if you have a death too. Oh, okay, Deep Learn. That minion definitely saved a lot, although he did have access to the Featherstorm and launches it out there. Selena now sticking a little bit closer to the bot lane. Has been both of these bot laners have roamed quite a lot this game actually, and I do think that is pretty emblematic of the style of play.
Wow, it's actually a very early Umbral Glaive from Lynx. That is a rarity. You usually see that on supports, and I love the item.
Oh, good
don't
shout.
Get me wrong, but like, what a really quick Umbral Glaive. It's a very rarity on Jhin at least. Usually you can see Eclipse, like you sometimes see like other penetration items, but this is one that you don't see that all the time.
Young Mid's gonna get caught though, and with the Requiem nearly enough to take him down. He's bleeding, but there we go. Keel will find just enough damage. Here comes the curtain call, but Duo Selena gonna be bodyguarding for Deep Learn. It's protect the president, and both bottom laners get out alive.
Easy enough. Yeah, it was just the Leandries tick at the very end of that, because again, Keel has gotten so accelerated in this game, already has the completed Leandries to be able to put out that damage. It's great for that effect. Now a dive potentially on a Captain Shrimps as Zamudo is set up to do a little bit more here as well.
Oh, they actually stopped the barrel. This is actually huge right now, and on 3, didn't really have much of an opportunity. Still have to go golden. Skytech absorbs a lot of pressure, but this does open up a push opportunity. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the map, Existence is getting some for himself. Last second plates, but not quite as fast of a push as AOE are able to do. And I think they actually get all the plates on bot tower in the nick of time.
They absolutely... Oh, it's really close. We're ticking.
Can he do it?
Did we get it? We got the fourth one. Did we get the number? Yeah! Oh, I think it was a second late. I think it was 4:01 is when it happened, and I don't know exactly when Trav plates they're off. Doesn't matter. He does get the full tower at least, so he's able to do that. I kind of wanted to see more members shift into mid, because for a moment there, they actually had an opportunity with 3 plates to potentially push with Lynx, and they just leave Zamudo to get collective gold. Instead, they stayed for the defense to make sure they couldn't shift in to try to punish the Jax, but I feel like they had the information to know that that would have been a feasible play. AOE Esports does take a gold advantage now off the back of a couple of plays that just went through in the last minute or so. For the first time in the game, it feels like they've been down to Ginger Turmeric since basically the first minute.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was the fact that Keel started off with 2 very quick kills. Which, by the way, Keel update, as he hasn't died this game, which is very unusual for Karthus, by the way. Upgrades into the Medjay Soulstealer. You'll love to see it. This is low-key like my favorite thing to do because it just shows like confidence. Like, fantastic.
Absolutely, 100%. Keel should be feeling it as well. Again, he's on an AP jungler, he's on Karthus, he's scaling, 2 kills to be in the game. He has everything in the world to be able to be prepared for. Like, when we talk about the history of Keel going back to, like, CLG Academy, like, he had good performances on CLG Academy. He was not, like, a bad player. That whole roster had its problems, right? Like, they weren't able to make everything work that I think that they wanted to. But Keel was, like, one of the members that really actually voted quite a bit of respect from a number of members. Hasn't made his way back to Academy. This is really the first that he's made it back to be inside of Amateur, showing off a little bit again on this Turmeric roster, actually doing some really good work, making sure that this team has a jungler as a replacement to what they had in the previous iteration of this roster, City Witty, when they had previously made top 8, maybe looking to push now for that top 4 spot, obviously very competitive right now.
And of course, City Witty also flexing over on Taco Gaming, we saw on the earlier stream today. But Keel definitely stepping into the role here. And as you mentioned, AoE with the lead, it's a very slim gold lead, by the way, so this can swing back and forth anytime. Meanwhile, Zamudo kind of caught a little bit deep in enemy territory, but he does have friends. Skytech is here. That's going to be the Requiem. Shouldn't be enough to get the kill onto Zamudo, but everybody else in the mid lane right now, things could get a little hectic. That is going to be the Zenith Blade, but only catches out the Winnie clone. And the chase is on. Cannon Barrage pushes him back, but they decide to turn onto Existence anyways, and this is going to be a bit of a pickle here for the AoE top end support. They split the difference, and Zamudo going to be running for his life as Skytech will be sacrificing his own.
It's unfortunate because Zamudo's also going to die definitely to kill right here. Almost
There
certainly.
we go.
There it is right there.
It's
and the
free.
trade-off was like mid-push, not that insane right now. You had also like top lane, like a couple of waves caught for Young. But this is them being on 3 lanes when like it looked like Turmeric was ready to actually play very aggressively for the fight. Because of that, they do get punished pretty heavily. They're going to lose the Dragon, which is going to put out for 2 for Turmeric. And more kills into Keel, more kills into the Karthus. Not things you want to hear if you're the side of AOE Esports. He can press his ultimate once every 60 seconds, do half your health bar. That doesn't bode well for late game team fights when the time comes.
Yeah, no, Karthus very fed is very, very frustrating to deal with right now. You can see the gold graph, how it's gone. It definitely go up, it definitely go down. But right now it favor AOE, Ginger, Turmeric, as they have themselves about a 900 gold advantage. Dragon as well. Teleport comes up top side. This is Young mid, who, despite best efforts, has had a quieter game this time around. I think there's always that potential for him to pop off here. Selena's kind of caught out in, I want to say, no man's land here because there's so many members of AOE, but they're not really on the same page as Skytech just gets completely interrupted. Curtain Call does come in here, and you do see, actually, that's going to be Deep Learn. Was not expecting that many people to be there, and it is a very chaotic jungle skirmish with ultimates flying left and right. Existence comes in to get revenge for Deep Learn, and Duo Selena even able to pick up Winnie on the back half of that one, and really, really back and forth. Ends up being a 1-for-2 trade in favor of Ginger Turmeric.
I do appreciate the dive ending up coming through from this team. They get the kill off onto the Xayah, so they take away a little bit of agency right here. 2 kills into the Camille doesn't feel good for Zamudo because he's the one playing against it in the side lane. And again, I talked about what Existence can actually accomplish when you're inside of teamfights, but slowly the Jax is getting stronger. I think with this tower take, I actually really prefer this play from AOE because it allows for Zamudo in the one-on-one against the Camille to really drag her out of fights as much as possible. I want to see how this develops. It was, like, Winnie's here taking, they have 3 members here in total, but you have to know that they're calling, they're like, okay, we're going to go after deep learning. Like, we're going for deep learning 100%. The fact that Skytech got out of this was also miraculous. I completely missed that. I thought it was going to be 3-for-1 in the grand scheme of things, but ended up not being the case. Because, again, Skytech was able to flash out over the wall. And props to them also, because they set up for their top side or their bot side push from their top laner. The Jax is getting into a good position. They want gold into him so he can continue to be a menace in the side lane and try to pull some attention away from this Turmeric roster, who have such an incredible amount of AoE damage when their team really gets going.
Yeah, and the Jax is going to start to hurt, right? That's the Death Dance picked up after the replay, so we already had seen that he was getting close on a couple of components. And Zamudo, yeah, he can definitely start to stick a little more with the team should he wish to, but has that ever-present threat on the sidelines. I think one of the key differences, though, if he doesn't want to try and, like, TP Trickery, it's not going to happen this game because he's gone for full combat subs.
Has the Ignite always prepared, so he's not going to be able to cross-map nearly as much, and that might be, Young might have to take up a bit of the mantle of responding to Existence. The other half of this, of course, is that, like, if he's in a lane against Existence and Existence drops Ignite on him, he can drop Ignite right back and usually be fine in that circumstance, because, again, this Jax gets incredibly powerful in a side lane. And, again, it's about application. I always get a little bit lost in the weeds when it comes to some amateur teams when they have setups like this, where they have a champion that is so good at playing in a side lane, and they're just not ever able to leverage the fact that that side lane is something incredibly valuable to play for Selena.
Yeah, Duo Selena wanted to start a fight. I don't know if the rest of the team was ready for it, though, and you can see they spend a lot, but they do manage to get that kill. Now Keel is the one caught out and isolated, knocked up again by Winnie on the Cyclone. Last shot intercepted by Captain Shrimps as he throws down the cannon barrage. Nobody else dies outside of Duo Selena, who maybe just got a little bit too aggressive there.
But and again, Zamudo set up to be just perfectly fine in the side lane, and they have ways to pick off champions from a distance. This is the value of having this Jhin and this Cinder combination. Because again, your damage comes from a much further distance. They have a lot more CC potential from a range than what you would have with most other ADCs, which again is the value. They get a pick right there because there wasn't a full team around Selena to really be there at the right time. Part of my brain is still also rattling that I'm like, wow, I really wish there were Callista sometimes where like you could throw people in for ultimates and such, but I need to stop harping on that nearly as much because the Jhin is fine for links. He's doing things that he needs to do as Zamudo is going to find Existence out. Can't quite get the stuff.
Nah, good hook shot. Existence is going to be able to try and arm's length a little bit here, even if the straight-up fight's not going to be quite as helpful. Lynx, from a distance, is able to keep shaving away damage on this turret. Just not a lot left to keep it standing. And AOE Esports are definitely playing a little bit better around the objectives at the moment. There is going to be another Dragon Mountain Drake coming up in about 40 seconds here. Keep in mind, it is Ginger Turmeric who are the ones who currently have the stack lead, but it's going to be a while for either side to try and secure themselves a soul in this particular one. And we do have to keep in mind, the last time somebody tunnel focused on a soul, they ended up losing the game instead. So, hey.
Not good. I wonder which team that would have been. Who's to say? Nobody was on this
Oh,
stream, so it doesn't matter.
That's gonna be the jump. Oh, what a big bunch of damage they do. Shutting down Keel, taking advantage of the squishy Karthus. Goodbye. Medjai stacks. Yes, there's a Requiem, but I think he was singing his own demise there as Zamudo does finally fall. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Hard fought for AOE GT.
That's a lot of damage that's been put onto Winnie, though. Oh, you're good, yeah. Winnie lost so much health, though. They actually might be able to contest for this dragon and be able to take this to third Drake and soul point potential.
Skytech! He just cut through him like he was butter at that point, but now there's going to be a turnaround once more. Deep Learn, great use of his own ultimate just to try and stay alive, but now he's caught inside of the Dragon Pit. Everybody aggroed existence trying to keep the rest of the team away. Look at how low Ginger Turmeric's bot lane is, but Winnie taking a lot of damage as well. It's just flashes, burn, left and right, advantages fading on either side. A shutdown as existence will fall and isolated from the pack goes Deep Learn. How did AOE win this one?
It was so close the entire time, and I think it props to existence for going crazy. We're not quite done yet because Captain still has health. They don't have health right now. Keel is also back. He's in the back of the fight.
They're keeping it going on this one, Rebel, and I think Keel is ready for some revenge. There's even more gold shutdowns. The Dragon's getting involved. Keel will fall. Zamudo, nearly the last member of his team standing, but Young just says, no, I don't want any more of this. I've had enough for one day. Talk about an action film. I think that's where we are with the AOE Civil War. Zamudo will claim Duo Selena. Skytech looks for Captain Shrimps, but the power of oranges. Citrus is keeping him alive.
And he's going to go down. It looks like Zamudo just being given the kill immediately. This is the Turmeric that we were expecting.
This is an absolutely bonkers game. That's
right
13 to 13 in kills. There's more kills in this game than there are minutes passed.
There really are. Again, this is what we expect from Turmeric walking into games like this, where they were just so scrappy and they just play by the seat of their pants so much of the time. AOE able to punish, find a little bit, but it was just a couple of members with individual performances that extended it so long, but ultimately, AOE takes the massive advantage. They win the fight in the long term. And this was big, because again, it was existence jumping onto frontliners, being able to pick people up. Right there also, like you said, the good use of the ultimate to make sure that Deep Learn wasn't just going to go down immediately, and how much you have to be careful. The Dragon reset, I think, hurt just a little bit as well. Winnie got healed, too. Winnie was at, like, 300 health before this fight started. I don't know how he got back to full health. Props to him for finding a way to do so. That right there, I think, was the mistake. Existence going back onto Young. I know you have damage, and you think you're like, okay, maybe I can actually make this work. But unfortunately, Existence, I think, just misappropriated it and ended up falling behind. And then this is the reinforce. This was what was crazy. And I thought Keel's flank was going to be the demise for this team. But again, Zamudo is just so powerful. The MR is here for the team. And it meant that Zamudo can kind of just walk through all of the members as they go through. They focus down, make sure that Karthus is going to go down before anything else. And then Captain Shrimps has to be terrified because he's on like 200 health the majority of this time. But what an incredible fight. How elongated that this truly was, to where resets were starting to come in and things were really starting to make a difference. But ultimately, again, it's the pick at the beginning, being able to take out Keel, a couple of really big plays from a number of members, making all of the difference.
I like how Captain Shrimps was like, do I want to go back in? Do I not? Oh god, there's Skytech and he's full health. And then at this point he was just full dead. But what a ridiculous turn of events. The dust settles. We get to like chill out, and wouldn't you know it, it's a 500 gold difference in this game, even on towers, even on dragons. It's a curtain call, but I think this game is far from over, as Deep Learn does absorb a massive amount of punishment from Lynx, and that is the Jhin coming online. So a lot of the weapons from AoE here are starting to be felt, and that tower is so low a stiff breeze would knock it over. And yeah, Young Mid's auto attacks have been a little frustrating this series, I think, for him, but not that time. So we're about 26 minutes into this one, and though AoE have a bit of a tempo advantage in their favor, and grabbing that standing gold means they have maybe about 1,000 gold lead, still a very close game here, Rebel.
26 minutes into the game, that makes basically no difference in the entire world. There's a couple of things that you're tracking. The biggest thing, though, of course, is that we are at this point in the game, and Keel is going crazy still. You still have Gangplank for late game. You have all this scaling in a couple of different members of your team, and none of them have really been closed out of being this big damage dealer. Keel specifically is the person you're looking at, because again, this Karthus, when you rain ultimates at this point in the game, can ruin fights before they even start from the side of AOE if they don't have sustain or ways to block that damage or preventative measures, which is why you're seeing, like, the Eclipse is going to be useful for the shield for Lynx. You've got the Zonias available, Maw of Malmortius, all items that you're actually looking for to try to prevent some of this damage. Even like the Locket for Skytech, going to be useful tools to make sure that that one Requiem doesn't just completely lose you the ability to step in and contest a Baron or a Dragon or a 5-on-5 when the time comes.
That's true. And then on the opposite side, of course, for AOE, like, Zamudo is becoming a pretty beastly threat as well. In addition to the Death Stance, the Divine Sunder, you know, we have the Black Cleaver as well. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to stand up to this guy in the side lane. No. And the saving grace is that he cannot cross map because he did not take teleports. Because this guy wants to win the lane. It doesn't matter what the lane is.
He's insanely strong right now, though, and you've seen him actually be almost like a backline diver. He jumps onto Keel. Nobody really has the damage to get through him because there's 2 auto attack-based champions that are pretty much all auto damage, and the only other one is the Gangplank.
Half health.
On the Baron, it's a fast Baron.
It's incredibly fast, and they tried to get it. You could see Winnie went in for a last-ditch effort, but they really were not ready for it, and they're going to keep him locked up for a moment into the Gangplank barrels. A lot of damage. They do sacrifice existence for that cause. Here comes the Requiem. Goodbye, Zamudo. And will there be any further casualties here? Winnie lives by inches. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far. Scout of the week. No, not enough distance there. I mean, that you take that if you're Ginger Turmeric. You have the Baron on 4.
You absolutely do. Really solid call from Ginger Turmeric. They know they've got damage. They've got damage in spades. With the Karthus being as strong as they are, Deepler and Captain Shrimp's existence, all on damage champions that work so well at taking this objective very, very quickly, and they snap to it just as quickly as they can. AOE just barely not in position for it. It looked like they were trying to figure out whether they wanted to group around mid lane, whether they wanted to group around the contest, what they wanted to do with Zamudo, whether you want to keep him in the side lane or something along those lines. And in all of that little bit of kind of, indecisiveness was the punishment that came out from Turmeric, where now they hold the Baron and they're able to set up for the Dragon. I think that's the most important thing. I don't know if they actually end up breaking a bunch of structures here to get a bunch of gold, but the most important thing is that they set themselves up for Soul Point. Giving Mountain Soul over would negate a bit of the Karthus damage, which would be painful to deal with if you're Turmeric, but getting it for yourselves denies it from AoE and gives yourselves another really useful tool in the grand scheme of things to talk about when it comes to, again, we're sizing up to the arms race of these late game fights.
Yeah, but speaking of damage on the Karthus, I mean, look at the way they did that last fight at 23,000. Way more than just about anybody else here, although you do see Duoselina caught. However, it seems like it may have been a ruse, Rebel. As the turnabout keeps happening left, right, center, Duoselina will finally fall, do the curtain call shots, and Zamudo somehow limps away from it.
Back like immediately.
They do need that cannon barrage. Captain Shrimps is looking for the opener there, and he's backing right in the mid. They can't quite close the gap. Just put the Gangplank ulti on. They want to save it. They want the back because they'd rather have the Dragon.
Absolutely, yeah. They almost had the Requiem and they almost had the GP ultimate. Both of them held during the course of that fight because they don't really care. They grab the ultimate. Oh, what is happening here? They got reinforcements behind them, but that was used on the wrong thing. Okay.
That's one way to get out of the ultimatum. But the Requiem is going to get canceled. What?
Keel popping it, not wanting to get tagged up by Young, almost certainly gets one shot by Young at this point in the game still because he has no resistances and just has to bail on the ultimate. That's kind of big. That means that they can continue to work up here. Again, this is a lot of saving grace, making sure that the Baron buff's not going to get done anywhere near what they needed to get done.
They're going to teleport.
Losing a lot of setup.
Here comes Existence. They're going to try to sandwich him. That's the Gangplank barrel just to soften the health bars. Winnie, though, not near it. They kind of get away. Man, it's been a weird minute of this game.
It really has. Yeah, the last minute has just been completely ridiculous. The
Total
expectation
chaos.
of, like, yeah, do they burn, like, ultimates? Do they do things to try to pick up kills under, like, Zamudo and all these other members? Now Zamudo's actually set up the top side where he's pushing really crazy in, and they don't know where they are, so they can't push up mid lane to respond. The Baron buff ended up really actually just being the Dragon setup for this team, grabbing that one up and setting them to Soul Point. And now Zamudo's going to go in and gets a double stun.
Yeah, 2v2. Oh, they take down Keel. Such a squishy Karthus here. Zamudo should fall. It is going to be a trade. The top laner for the jungler. Captain Shrimp's getting the kill credit on that one, but man, they already got the tower. Like Zamudo just, like, he just gives a stern look at the tower and it folds. Like, this is Jax. This is 30-minute Jax.
Yeah, he's jaxed right now. I think I'm allowed to say that on streams. I hope
I mean, I think it counts.
But there's nothing wrong with it. I'll get yelled at otherwise. It's fine. One way or another, it doesn't matter because again, they're trying to apply side lane pressure. I like that Zamudo's been able to find some of that in this later game, and he actually is contributing quite a bit because he's finding this role as being this assassin for Keel. Keel can't stand forward in fights. Part of that is like Young is going to challenge his positioning, Lynx is going to challenge his positioning, but even when he's far enough back to only be hitting the members that are on the front, like Winnie, like Skytech, or some of the members that are soaking damage. That's actually when Zamudo is moving in to really find the punish against this this person. So now,
I got a recommendation for Keel.
Sure, what's that?
It starts with Zanya's and it ends with Hourglass.
Okay. What's in the middle?
Nothing really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very useful tool.
I was looking at his item builds, and I'm like, I think there's something missing. Safety.
Defense. Yeah, defense.
Yeah. He did end up selling the Medjais. Like, again, I appreciate the boldness, but obviously, like, I mean, it got value, and then it didn't, but, what are you going to do? Keel has done very well this game, but yeah, one of the issues with Karthus is he's very squishy.
Yes.
He does not drink his milk, so his bones are very brittle.
Yes. He also has very limited cooldown reduction pumped into this build, so he can't really pop the ultimate every single time. He's using it more as like a fight ender. Oh, wow.
Okay, Featherstorm is great, but you're running out of time. Good intercept. Duo Selena tried, but threading the needle on the shot. Lynx finding a huge one. Meanwhile, Winnie going to go down too deep into enemy territory, and it is just an all-out brawl here. Skytech Winnie already fallen, so the trade for Deep Learn is just not worth. However, Zamudo is here, and that is enough to dissuade them. The minion wave evaporates.
During this fight, they put so much on the side of AOE into picking off the one member of Ginger Turmeric that they weren't paying attention to their backline. It's the first time that Existence has really gotten himself a chance to get into the backline the way I wanted him to. It was a nice scout of the week into a booth, and you can see Existence is on the top side. Skytech's the only one preventing them from getting into a fight like this, which is really humongous, as well as the Karthus ultimate being dropped. Existence just worked his way right into the backline. And again, normally what would happen is if the fight were kind of working their way towards Young and towards Lynx, things would have gone great. But thankfully, Winnie going down, while it is a silver lining, it did prevent Lynx and Young from actually getting aggressed on by the rest of the team. When Existence was there, used the Hextech ultimatum to really prevent them from escaping or pushing them back towards their own team. So I do want to give props.
Yeah. The
trade-off of back and forth between all these members, it seems like both top laners are such a menace to both team fights right now. It's kind of incredible to see.
I agree. AOE, they're going to be the ones starting up the Baron right now. This is done in plain vision. They don't take it quite as fast as Ginger Turmeric, so... Okay, dodging out a couple of crucial shots here. Zamudo kind of steps a little too far forward. That's half his health bar already. Between the Wall of the Pain, the Skittles, and Existence. Yeah, they have to drop this. Keep in mind, the Dragon Soul Point is up here for Ginger Turmeric in 30 seconds.
And they have mid push to work with. They have like Zamudo's health bar is too low. Probably
they got
can't
the
really
tower
walk towards it. Yeah, they get the tower. They probably just escape and they're able to actually walk. They have 20 seconds for Dragon Take. The only thing that could stop them is this team right here. They are in position for Baron potentially, and that's why they don't want to give it up. So they
can split the difference.
Yeah, they split the difference. They put 4 members, prevent them from going Baron. But okay. They're putting the wrong member on it. It should be Existence. Existence has TP. Existence should be in the Dragon right now.
Keel can still Requiem. Keep that in mind. But this Baron has been started. The rest of the team is on. That is going to be the Cannon Barrage. Look at how low Zamudo is already off the back. Here's the Requiem. They're going to try to get the finisher. Zamudo goes into stasis. The Baron still aggroed in this one, and the fight is going absolutely crazy. But the health bars are starting to evaporate, and it's Ginger Turmeric that are turning on top. Zamudo caught up, and he dies hard, but die he will. The triple kill for Captain Shrimps, and Young Mid is the last member standing, and Baron be darned, they're heading for the base.
It felt right there like AOE had to actually make this full commitment into fighting around that Baron, knowing the fact that they were actually getting split, that Keel wasn't around for that Dragon. They weren't willing to make that full-on commitment, and because of that, they were kind of trapped in the Gangplank ultimate, and with the Requiem, that's so much free damage that the fight starts off with that you can never truly recover. Well played by Turmeric. They came out with this weird, wonky flex pick of the Gangplank to the mid lane, but Keel's Karthus goes crazy. The Gangplank ends up in a great position, and they take us in the AOE Civil War to a game number 3.
Oh boy, we are going the distance on this one, Rebel. It is, man, like, again, they've been games of inches back and forth so much on both of these ones, and this time it was Turmeric that just had the better fight. A lot of it was set up from the early game by Keel doing so much work, but the team fighting, it was just better. It was there. I think the Baron ended up being a little bit of a bait for AOE. Rather than turning the fight, they seemed to commit a little hard for it, and they lost 2 members very quickly. But even getting to this situation, I mean, it's so hard to predict where these games go because so much hinges on the mechanical ability and the team fighting and the clutch factor of who steps up. And game 3 is for all the marbles. Everything resets, full clean slate. But that's it. We're going to break. We'll be back with the thrilling conclusion of which AOE squad will be making it into the semifinals.